United States, New York, Queens, November 12, 2001. 6:30 a.m. JFK Airport is on high alert. The atrocity of 9/11 is still fresh in the minds of Americans. And for everyone in the airline industry, security is a major concern. On the tarmac, the crew of American Airlines Flight 587 prepare for a 3.5-hour flight to the Dominican Republic. Captain Ed States, the senior pilot, and his first officer, Sten Molen, carefully check the exterior of their aircraft. The son of a pilot, Molen has 10 years' experience with the company, joining American Airlines at the age of just 24. Like his father before him, Sten sees it as much more than a job.
If he wasn't a pilot, he doesn't know what he would be doing because it was that important. He loved his job.
Traveling to the Dominican Republic this morning are 251 passengers. Among them, 83-year-old Hipólito Algaroba and his 73-year-old wife, Ubencia. The elderly couple have decided to return to their homeland for their twilight years and are expecting their son, Hector, to show up and see them off.
They're going home for good because they have raised 3 kids and their job is done.
The couple have arrived well before their scheduled departure time. So early, the airline offers them seats on an earlier flight. By the time Hector gets to the airport, his parents have already checked in. But his mother comes back from departures to say goodbye to her son.
I'm fine. How's Dad? I asked about my father, and she said that he's fine, and he said he'll see me when I get there in a couple of months. And I gave her another kiss. I guess that was the kiss from my father.
At 7 a.m., Ed States and Sten Molen begin pre-flight checks. The aeroplane is an Airbus A300-605R, capable of carrying up to 266 people. Built in Europe some 13 years ago, it is one of the oldest in the American Airlines fleet and has racked up over 37,000 hours of flying time. Nevertheless, the Airbus is recognized as one of the most reliable airliners in service. Today, though, that reliability has been undermined by the stringent new security measures. Every passenger is searched twice before boarding is allowed, and the scheduled takeoff time of 8:40 begins to slip. By 9 a.m., all 251 passengers are on board.
I'll program the computer.
Pre-flight checks are complete.
Clear right. Clear left.
And Flight 587 begins to taxi to runway 31L. It's a fine day, and Sten Molen, the co-pilot, will fly the plane on the first leg. 9:11 a.m. A Japanese Airlines 747 immediately in front of 587 is cleared for takeoff. The controller gives Molen and States a routine caution. He tells them there's a risk of air turbulence from the Japanese plane ahead.
Clear for takeoff, American 587 Heavy.
Captain States knows that he must keep a safe distance between himself and the Japanese airliner. Every plane creates a wake of turbulent air as it takes off, which can affect following flights.
You happy with that distance? We'll be all right once we get rolling. So you're happy?
Their flight path will take them across Jamaica Bay and over the Rockaway Peninsula in the borough of Queens. It's a popular residential area, especially with New York's fire and police departments. Today is Veterans Day, a public holiday, but not everyone is having the day off.
Okay, I'm off.
Police Chief Michael Morley and his wife will be working. His mother-in-law is looking after their 2-year-old baby, Michael Jr.
Okay, Mikey.
It was just another day. I just had spent about the first week of not doing 12-hour days going down to the World Trade Center. Now, a week later, they started trying to get the police department to get back to normal.
Mike Morley's next-door neighbor is Lois Shaw, a financial controller for a lighting company.
It was a beautiful day, and I just left and got into my car, and I really didn't think about anything. And I'm just driving to work.
Because it's a holiday, her husband Mark is at home. He's taking their 15-year-old son to the doctor.
Jason, come on, let's go.
If he can get him out of bed.
I say, like, what are you doing in bed? And like any other teenager, he gives me that answer. I said, come on, it's time to get up, we gotta go.
9:14, Sten Molen starts the takeoff run.
Rotate.
9:14 and 29 seconds.
D2.
Flight 587 lifts off.
Positive rate, gear up, please.
Ground control at JFK wishes them well and instructs Molen and States to contact New York departures. 9:15. Flight 587 is now at 1,700 feet. The departure controller gives them a navigation fix.
New York, American 587, heavy turn left, proceed direct wavy.
We'll turn direct wavy. American 587, heavy.
1 second later, the plane begins to shake. The pilots know the turbulence is likely to have come from the Japan Airlines Jumbo up ahead. It's a routine hazard, and Molen flies through it.
250, thank you.
The captain increases the speed of the plane to 250 knots, the maximum allowable at that height. But seconds later, the plane hits more turbulence. Sten Molen takes decisive action. Using his foot controls, he applies the rudder first to the right and then to the left to try and stabilize the plane.
Back power.
Again, Molen asks for more power to keep the aircraft under control.
You all right? Yeah, I'm fine. Hang on to it. Hang on to it. Full power, please. Holy!
Less than 2 minutes into their journey, Flight 587 is in deep trouble. The lives of 260 people in the air and many more below are in mortal danger. 89 seconds after takeoff, Flight 587 is in trouble. In the cockpit, co-pilot Sten Molen is fighting the controls.
What the hell are we into? I'm stuck in it! Get out of it! Get out of it!
Far below, 53-year-old Pete Hayden, Deputy Chief of the New York Fire Department, is taking his first day off since September 11th. His attention is drawn to a plane making an unusual straining noise.
It's struggling. I look up. It's lower in the sky than normal. I'm watching it, and the plane suddenly begins to break apart.
Holy!
I see the back part of the plane behind the left wing break open. Smoke and flames come out.
As the plane spins out of control, the engines shear off. Mark Shaw, still trying to wake his son, also hears the plane.
And I think that it sounds just like the Concorde.
Come on, Jason. You know you have a doctor's appointment today. Come on, get up.
The house starts to shake. Pete Hayden watches in disbelief. At 9:16 and 15 seconds, Flight 587 slams into the ground. At 9:20 a.m., a pilot who has seen the crash alerts air traffic control at JFK.
Yeah, look out to the south of the aircraft crashing.
Say again?
An aircraft just crashed to the south of the field.
An aircraft crashed south of the field?
Aircraft fireball.
Controllers see a black pall of smoke over the suburb of Rockaway. On the ground, an amateur cameraman captures the horrifying scene.
Plane crashed. Where? Into the houses.
Houses are crushed and burning. Aircraft parts are everywhere. The whole neighborhood seems to be under attack. One of the first at the scene is Deputy Fire Chief Pete Hayden.
There are bodies everywhere, all over the streets, in the yards. some victims still strapped into the seats of the airplane.
For Pete Hayden, the scene is all too familiar. It's 9/11 all over again. Only this time, it's his own neighborhood that has been hit.
I'm wondering who it is that I know today that was killed.
As the full scale of what has happened becomes apparent, residents are in a state of shock.
The engine fall down and the belly fall, the pitch then left side and make it straight all the way down.
From across New York, emergency services race to Rockaway. Among them, Inspector Michael Morley, who's horrified to hear the plane has crashed close to his own home. His first thought is for his son and his mother-in-law.
I know my son is at home. I know my mother-in-law's in the house. So I'm panicking like every other father. You know, I'm thinking, oh my God, what if my kid's killed? What if, I don't know what's going on with my family.
Michael Morley's next-door neighbor, Lois Shaw, is traveling to work when she gets a terrifying call from her husband, Mark.
What's gone, the house? He's screaming hysterically, the house is burning down. So I just totally freak out, and I'm trying to scream, where's Jason, what's happening? But we get disconnected at this moment.
Horrified, Lois heads home. News of the disaster spreads across the city.
Roger, I'll have to cut you off. We are just learning from Associated Press that there has been a plane crash in Queens.
Hector Algaroba is having breakfast in a diner, having left his parents at the airport.
The word that we have is that it is an American Airlines jet.
He's not certain which flight his parents caught, but his blood runs cold. Hundreds of firefighters from across the city are now fighting the blaze. Mayor Giuliani arrives to see the damage for himself.
We'll do everything we can to help these people, everything. And the president is on top of it. They're alert. They're watching everything else all over the country, so I think people should remain absolutely calm.
But New Yorkers believe they are being attacked again. The city is in meltdown. The Empire State Building is evacuated. The United Nations is in partial lockdown. Airports are closed, and all civil aircraft are grounded. Armed F-15 Eagles scramble, and other jets are on strip alert around the country. Tunnels and bridges are closed. The city is gridlocked. Americans fear their worst nightmare is unfolding once more. The plane has crushed 4 houses on the intersection of Newport Avenue and Beach 131st Street. Across the road, 5 more houses are ablaze. One of these belongs to Police Inspector Michael Morley. When he arrives at the scene, he is horrified. There is no sign of either his baby son or his mother-in-law. On his doorstep, 2 of his own officers are waiting for him.
Anybody left inside? My mother-in-law was babysitting Mikey.
Because I said, my son's in the house. And they said, we looked, there's nobody in there. They thought that maybe I was in there sleeping also. So I said, well, did you look good? And they said, yes.
As rescue vehicles race to the scene, roads into Rockaway are gridlocked. Lois Shaw battles desperately to get back to her family and home.
I had no idea what I was going to find or what had happened, but I was thinking that I just have to get to my house. I have to get to my house.
Michael Morley is in a desperate situation. His own loved ones are lost in the heart of the raging inferno, yet he's also the officer in charge of the scene.
I'm just a regular guy, and all of a sudden you're the highest-ranking police officer on the scene of a major catastrophe like this. I knew in a little while the whole police department's going to start responding and everybody's going to come and be helping out. But for right now, I'm in charge. What do you do?
Desperate to find her son, Lois Shaw abandons her car. She runs towards her burning house until she comes to a police cordon.
That's my house. I've got to get in there. I've got to...
4 policemen, I remember, holding me back, and I was screaming, let me go. My son is in the house. Let me go.
No, my son is in there. My son is in there, too. Please let me through.
Michael Morley still has no idea what has happened to his own family. When senior police chiefs arrive, they hear his baby son and mother-in-law are missing.
And one of the chiefs says, hey, Mike, what are you still doing here? I said, I'm just trying to help out, boss. And he says, get out of here, go find your family. I said, all right.
More and more people, desperate for information, arrive at the scene of the tragedy. Among them, Hector Algaroba. He believes his parents were on the plane, but he's praying for a miracle.
The hope was somehow all the smoke and all the fire that I'm seeing is from some sort of impact of the plane trying to land. And there has been a lot of people that survive. I'm trying to cling to whatever hope, because the last thing a human being loses in life is hope.
In the middle of the carnage, Lois Shaw is still looking for her family.
I'm running to see if Jason is alive, and I feel unreal. All I see ahead of me is smoke. I can't see anything.
Michael Morley races frantically from house to house, desperately hoping his loved ones will be sheltering with a neighbor.
Eleanor! Anybody who's a parent, you lose your kid in a Kmart or a Walmart or something like that, and you just get that panic and your stomach goes into knots and you start sweating, you're getting nervous, and you don't want to think the worst, but you can't think of it, and then just magnify that by, 100 times because a plane crash just was right on your house.
Jason, answer me, Mark!
Then, Lois Shaw hears the shout she's longing for.
And I looked, and that's when I saw Jason and Mark.
Lois! Lois, we're over here!
Once I saw him alive, at that moment, that was all that I really cared about. Nothing else really mattered.
Oh my God, are you okay? Oh, Jason!
Jason and his father are alive and well. They got out of the house with seconds to spare.
Oh my God, thank God! Oh, thank God, you're okay.
Give her a big hug. She was hysterical crying. That's when and then she was like, "What? Are you okay? Are you okay?" I was like, I didn't really have any emotions. It was just good to be together.
A block away, Michael Morley is still frantically searching when a neighbor calls him over.
Hey, Mike, get over here! They're right there! They're right there!
I saw him. It was a fantastic feeling because 2 seconds earlier, I'm starting to panic, thinking maybe they really were dead, and you turn around and there they were. My son was crying when he saw me, and you get worked up when your son's crying, and my eyes started getting wet. So I just held him for about 5 minutes.
But for each moment of joy, there are 100 of despair. Stan Molin, father of the co-pilot, gets a phone call with devastating news.
Until that call came in, you can sort of, hope that it was a different airplane. But that was the oh no, this can't be moment.
In the Dominican Republic, relatives expecting a family reunion at the Santo Domingo airport are suddenly confronted with an appalling reality. Their loved ones are dead. Hector cannot leave until he knows what has happened to his parents. He waits, hoping desperately. With the fire under control, the body count and identification of victims is underway. Mayor Giuliani holds a press conference.
We have so far recovered 132 bodies. And as the governor said, there were 255 people and crew members that were listed on the manifest. And I want to again express my sympathy and condolences to everyone involved.
After the announcement, Giuliani meets the bereaved families and personally gives Hector the news he is dreading.
He hugged me and gave me his condolences by telling me that my parents were on that flight.
It's just 2 months and 1 day since 9/11. The parallels with America's worst terrorist outrage are striking. America looks to the White House for answers. At 12 p.m., White House Press Secretary Ari Fleischer makes a statement.
First, information is always subject to change. We have not ruled anything in, not ruled anything out.
Then President Bush interrupts a meeting with Nelson Mandela to make a statement.
We sent our FEMA teams over. The FBI is over there. And this investigation is being led by the National Transportation Safety Board to make sure that the facts are fully known to the American people.
How did Flight 587 end in catastrophe? Why did one of the most reliable aircraft in service break up in mid-air and come crashing down on a residential suburb? Now, by going deep into the investigation, we can reveal the facts behind one of the worst aviation disasters in US history, and how the truth sent shockwaves through the entire industry. Less than an hour after the crash, 21 NTSB officials, the GO team as they are called, are on their way. The man in charge is Bob Benson, a veteran investigator who's handled 94 major air disasters, including the 1988 Lockerbie bombing over Scotland. But not even Lockerbie can prepare him for pressure like this.
It was particularly important for us to get this one right the first time. There was no payback in changing our minds or anything like that.
Benson knows that the early hours of an investigation are the most critical. His team start gathering evidence at the crash site, a dangerous, shocking, and distressing business.
From a personal standpoint, I'll take deserts, I'll take cornfields, I'll take mountaintops, I'll take swamps before I'll ever investigate accidents in cities.
Potentially crucial clues also come from the surrounding area and from eyewitnesses who saw the plane break up in flight.
And then the whole plane shook and the tail came apart. That's all I saw, and then it, boom.
Both engines landed 245 meters before the plane. One fell onto a house, the other on a service station. The location of the two engines relative to the main crash site could provide an important clue. By plotting exactly where debris has landed, investigators should be able to determine the breakup sequence. The debris is scattered everywhere. Police and army boats are called in to gather parts from Jamaica Bay. Then, Benson personally witnesses a major discovery as he drives along the coast road. A crane is lifting the tail fin from the water.
That really got our attention.
The tail fin is an essential component of the aircraft. Without it, an airliner simply cannot fly. The fin was found floating in the water 1.2 kilometers behind the main crash site. For the investigators, this is clear evidence that it must have been one of the first parts to break away. It could be at the very